In New York City, you could spend $1 million on an apartment and still not be able to do what you want with it. Make it make sense, people. I'm talking not be able to rent it, not be able to renovate it the way you want to. And sometimes you might not even get to that step. You find your dream apartment, you have your mortgage pre-approved, you have your commitment letter from the lender, you submit your board package and still get denied by a group of strangers who haven't even met you. And they don't even have to give you a reason why. It's your girl Lizzztings. I'm here today to break down what is a co-op, how is it different from condo, what you're actually purchasing, and how you can avoid some pretty big mistakes that some people make in this market. Let's start with what a co-op actually is. I get this question all the time. When we purchase a condo, we are purchasing real property. However, when we're purchasing a co-op, we're buying shares into a corporation, and they're allowing you a lease to be in that building for a certain amount of time. The lease here is called a proprietary lease, and the co-op board gets to decide who has access to being on the proprietary lease, who has access to being a shareholder in the corporation. Still sounds pretty crazy, right? So let's break it down. We're gonna see what's the difference between a co-op and a condo and compare notes. All right, so again, with a condo, you're getting a real property, just like any other purchase of a property or real estate. With a co-op, you're buying shares into a corporation. You're gonna have a lease called a proprietary lease that's kind of like you are renting the apartment, but that's not the case. You're owning and building equity at the same time. So that's the biggest difference. The purchase price is also different. The majority of the time, a co-op is going to cost a lot less than a condo, and there's a reason for that. A lot of times, co-ops have a higher monthly maintenance fee or a higher down payment requirement. A lot of times, co-ops want to screen who is being invited into to join the community, and therefore require a higher financial reserve, meaning they're going to look at your finances from a co-op and a condo perspective, but a co-op is going to see how much do you have post liquidity, which means do you have enough to pay the monthly maintenance charge over time if for some reason you lose your job or you're no longer able to have the income that you had when you first moved in. A condo is going to probably have higher closing costs that you're going to have to pay upfront at close. However, they're not going to be including the higher down payment. A lot of times you only need 10% down in order to get into a condo, whereas you probably will need at least 20, if not 30, sometimes all the way up to 80% down in order to purchase into a co-op. Okay, and one more big difference before we move on, the board application process. So in a condo, you still have to apply, you still have to fill out a pretty lengthy, extensive application, but the majority of it is focused on your financial situation. So condos are looking to make sure that you're financially sound so that you're able to pay the common charges as you move into the building. Now, we call them common charges in a condo and we call them maintenance fees in a co-op. Now, in a condo, you're gonna also have to pay taxes. So the common charges are not including those taxes. That's gonna be like a regular property tax that you would pay on real property because you own real property. On a co-op, on the other hand, you do not have to pay property taxes because you're part of the corporation. Definitely a plus. So getting back to the board application process, a condo is going to look at your finances, and a co-op is going to do the same thing. That's really what they're looking for, to make sure that you're going to be able to pay and live here for quite a long time. So in a co-op, think community. They're really focusing on that. With a condo, they just want to make sure that you're financially sound and that you're able to be paying long term. With a co-op, however, again, we are going to have that board approval process. So after you submit your application, which is pretty lengthy, you are going to have a board interview. Now, this can be intimidating to a lot of people. Usually it's pretty straightforward. They only ask a couple questions, maybe a couple things here and there. They want to make sure that you're a real person and that you're someone who actually wants to live in the building, not planning on investing or keeping this property as a rental property long term, because usually the co-op has rules around that as well. So really, long story short, with the difference between the co-ops and condos, if you're looking for more flexibility in your lifestyle, you want to be able to move out whenever you want, you want to renovate however you'd like to rent it out, maybe someday for an investment property, condo is most likely the way you want to go. Again, with a condo, you are going to have a higher price point. So a smaller price per square foot, what you're going to be getting for that price point. With a co-op, you are going to be looking to stay there a little bit longer term. Maybe it's your first purchase, just starting to build that equity. Definitely a good option for that, but they are looking to see that you're financially sound and that you're someone that would want to be a part of that community. Another thing that most condos and co-ops are looking for together is a low debt to income ratio. So what is a debt to income ratio? How much debt do you have versus how much you're bringing in, just like the name says. Putting our living expense at less than 30% of our entire income and our entire amount of money we have, so that we're able to afford the rest of the things in life. And we all know New York is expensive, so you got to keep that in mind. So who should not buy a co-op? Definitely not investors. My team works with investors quite often, and we're having a lot of co-op sales recently because people are reaching out to us saying, I need to get rid of this co-op. I wanted to keep it long-term as an investment property. I was unaware that I'm only allowed to rent it out for 3 years before I need to sell or move back in. And again, that's one of those kind of arbitrary rules, but they really do that so that they can get people to live there long-term and build that neighborhood community. If you're someone like me who doesn't like to be told no, then a co-op might not be for you as well, because I like to live by my own rules. And I'm not someone who really loves the whole idea of an HOA over in like any other parts of the country, where you can't have a certain type of paint on your house or you can't have a certain type of mailbox. I don't really like to live by everyone else's rules, if you know what I mean. So that might be a reason to stay away from a co-op. Another big one is buyers with non-traditional income. So they are going to be looking at your finances very extensively. And if you don't have a traditional W-2, or you haven't had a consistent workflow that you can prove over years and time, it can be pretty challenging to get approved by a board, even if you have approval by a mortgage. Let's get into who a co-op actually is perfect for. If you're looking for a long-term primary residence, you have a stable W-2 and a consistent job that you're gonna maintain over time, and you don't have any interest in being a property manager or landlord, you're not investing or planning on renting out any space anytime soon. You enjoy being with some structure and you like having some of those guidelines so that other people in the community follow them as well. And you might want a lower purchase price. First-time home buyers, perfect for you. Barrier to entry is much lower. Then the co-op is perfect. And it could be your first property that you purchase here. And then in 5 years, you go with that equity that you've built, because that equity is building just like it is in a condo or any other property. Then you can go ahead and purchase something else. So big takeaway here, it's not a mistake to buy a co-op. The mistake is in not knowing what you're getting into. So if you're buying in New York City and you're really deciding what neighborhood, you also really need to think about, is a co-op better for me or a condo? I have a buyer's guide below. Feel free to download. It's absolutely free to you, and it goes through all of this if you prefer having something to look at over time in writing. I would love to be of service to you if you're moving here. Let me know. I'm happy to be that person, that point of reference. It's your girl Lizzztings, and I'll see you in the next one.